What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Blueprint, where the goal is to be whole. I'm your host, Charles Irving, and today is day 12 of 40 days of fasting. I want to talk to you today about overwhelm, and I want to discuss with you a couple of things. One, acknowledging being overwhelmed, release, and support. Now, this came as a result of my prayer time when I came home this afternoon. I had a decent day. I had some moments, right? But I had a decent day. I reached my goal. Praise God, at the last minute, He sent me exactly what I needed to reach my goal in the time frame that I desired to reach it. But again, one of the things that happens when you're fasting is you become overwhelmed by a lot of things, or you can become overwhelmed very quickly. And for me, I know just the having to work, making all these micro decisions. And when I'm driving Uber and Lyft, I want you to think about it. I'm dealing with different people and different personalities. Now, I have a personality of my own. I like certain things, I don't like certain things. And there are there were plenty of times where people who got in my car had done certain things that I just didn't like, and having to, temper myself simply because, one, I got to make sure that I represent the Lord, all the time. I am the image bearer of God, and therefore I don't represent myself, I represent Him. But I also have to be mindful not to take out my frustration with what I'm going through and the pain and the discomfort on somebody else. So, that can heighten things. That can cause overwhelm simply because you gotta hold in a lot, right? You gotta hold in the frustration. You gotta hold in the aggravation. You gotta hold in the pain. You gotta hold in the discomfort because you don't want to say something that's out of pocket simply because you're mad in the moment. You don't want to get into a situation where you find yourself in an altercation with somebody. You don't want to lose focus and, end up getting into an accident. It can be so many different things that could come in my line of work simply because I'm overwhelmed. But here's the thing, the whole day, when I had these moments of where my attitude shifted, where I wasn't in the best of mood, racing down the street because I'm upset that somebody had in the middle of traffic letting all these people go by, and it's like, man, I'm trying to get somewhere, you over here playing games. So, I'm dipping and dodging and expressing, through how I drive for a moment, just my irritation. And one of the brothers, well, this particular situation, the person who was in the car, he got out of the car, he's like, make sure you keep your spirit up. And that was I think that was a godsend. That was a godsend to recalibrate, readjust myself. So I said, you know what? Yeah, I didn't say this to him, but I was like, you know what? He's right. I can't, I gotta adjust. So I adjusted. It was just like, you got to let some of this stuff go. You can't, again, try to control what other people do. You have no control over nobody but you and how you respond to the situations and circumstances you find yourself in. So when I got home, I went to the gym, did a light workout. My body was hurting from sitting. My back was hurting for some strange reason, and I didn't want to go to sleep because over the last 10 days, one of the things that's a side effect of fasting for this longer period of time is you develop insomnia. Like you can develop, like, your mind just does not want to go to sleep. And if I came home and did what I normally did, which was take a nap because I feel exhausted in the moment, then I'm not going to be able to sleep at night. And I had been doing that, and it's just like you do realize you slept for an hour and a half, and you're now going back to sleep or trying to. It's going to be challenging. So trying to push through the feelings of exhaustion mentally and emotionally, pushing through the feeling of being drained to force myself to stay up. Like that's what I've been doing for the last couple. I gotta find a way to stay up. Let me read my word. Let me shave. Let me watch a little movie for a little bit. Do whatever you got to do to stay up. You can't go to sleep. So when I got home, I have this mat that folds up. You can sit on it or you can stretch it out and you can lay down. And again, my back was hurting from sitting all day. My butt was hurting. And I just kneeled down on the mat and laid over my bed. And it was at that moment that I just said, Lord, thank you. Thank you that you're doing this with me. Thank you. Thank you that even if this is not something that you called me to do, right? The Bible says that when Jesus fasted 40 days, he was led into the wilderness by the Holy Spirit. But in this moment, I felt like even if God, you didn't call me to do this, and this is just something that I want to do, what I'm sensing is that you want to do this with me because it's something that you care about. You care about what I care about. And I broke down. I just cried because what's happening in this moment is, one, I'm realizing that I'm overwhelmed. It's not the fasting. It's everything else on top of the fasting that makes everything about the fasting heightened. To give you my definition of being overwhelmed, I love to define words because it helps me to be able to understand where am I in a particular situation. And the word overwhelmed to me means you have more problems than you have solutions. I'll give you a basic, you have more of something than you can actually handle. So you have more problems than you have solutions. You have more coming at you, more challenges coming at you than you can actually handle. And you feel like you're drowning. And you don't realize it at times because in life, you can be so busy doing stuff that you can't recognize that you are drowning. And today was one of those days. I didn't realize I was drowning. I'm drowning in the decisions I got to make. I'm drowning in my frustration with people. I'm drowning in my own issues with wanting to quit. I'm drowning in the feelings of discomfort in my body because I haven't eaten in 12 days. I'm drowning. And it's causing me to feel overwhelmed. And I just let it all out. One of the things that I want to say is that it's okay to be overwhelmed. But what you do when you're overwhelmed is vital. See, it's hard to do that when you don't recognize you are overwhelmed. So I'm hoping that that definition will be able to help you recognize, hey, I think I got way too much coming at me than I can actually handle right now. So that you can pause for a moment and identify what's the most important thing you can do. And for me, in that moment, the best thing for me to do was, which is the second thing I want to talk about, which was release. I had to cry. Like I just wept on the bed, partly because the Lord was showing me that he cares about what I care about. And what that was doing was it was chipping away at the unconscious belief that I had that the only thing that the Lord cares about is what his purpose is. And it's like, no, that's not true. God actually cares about what you care about, that he didn't necessarily have as a part of his perfect plan for your life. But because you care about it, he's like, yo, I'll just graft that in. He cares about what you care about. And the other part was the fact that I was facing the truth. I was facing the truth of that belief. I was facing the truth about the fact that I'm weak, that I can't do I don't want to do this. I started off, excited. I'm about to do a 40-day fast. It can be one of those things where you think about the end of it, right? Begin with the end in mind. You think about the end of it, and it's like, oh man, this is gonna be great. I did it, so forth and so on. But you don't think about a lot of the problems that come. One, because you can't foresee it. You've never done it. You can't. There's certain problems you just can't foresee. And for me, going through a 21-day fast, back in, I think it was 2020, first time I had done it, I realized as I was thinking about this the other night, I'm like, yo, why is the first 10, 11 days of this fast harder than the 21-day fast that I had done 5 years ago? And it clicked. Oh, when I was doing the 21-day fast, I wasn't working. So I was in the house, I could sleep whenever I got tired. I could read, I could watch a movie, I could go for a walk. I wasn't confined to physical restriction like I am when I'm working. I was shielded from having to deal with different people and interactions with people and having to navigate that. So there was a lot of stuff that I could do to minimize the frustration. There was a lot of things I could do to minimize the overwhelm by doing things that would put my mind away from what I was going through. This particular time, I can't do that. I'm confined to this car for several hours. I got to deal with people, whether it be people in the car or people who's driving around me, for several hours. And I don't want to be there. I don't want to be in the car. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to do this. So it heightens it way more than what I experienced when I was doing it the first time. Again, being able to release, being able to cry about what it is that I was experiencing, and what I was experiencing was simply being overwhelmed. And what I want you to know is that letting go lightens the load. See, there's something about our tears that releases emotional stress and strain that's built up that causes us to feel overwhelmed. Yes, there's a lot coming at us. Yes, we may not have, a solution for everything all in that particular moment. But the issue isn't what's coming at us and whether or not we can solve the issue in terms of answering the question or finding a solution to that particular problem as it's coming. It's what we're feeling as a result of it. And when you have this stuff coming at you and you start to feel stress, you start to feel anger, you start to feel frustration because you want something and you can't get what you want. And what you want is you want out. That's what you want. So the emotion builds up. It builds up in your body. They say that different emotions are held in different organs in your body. You store this stuff. And that's what causes you to feel overwhelmed, because you got all these emotions about what you're going through and what you're experiencing that's being stored up. It's like someone pouring into your cup, right? They're just pouring, pouring, pouring. And all of a sudden you get to a point where it's too much. You don't have the capacity to hold that. And when you don't have the capacity to hold it, it'll either spill over or unintentionally, or you can intentionally let it out. And how you let that out matters. And what I've learned is one of the things to do is you need to cry. I learned that years ago. You gotta let this out. That's how you release emotional stress and strain. It's through your tears. And I remember saying this a long time ago, tears have a way of communicating something that words cannot. Again, it's okay to be overwhelmed, but what you do when you're overwhelmed is vital. Release, because letting go lightens the load. And the last thing I want to talk about, I talked about it a little bit already, is just support. Let the Lord support you. 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Now, this is something, again, like I said, it was God showing me in that moment that, son, I'm with you. As I laid on the bed, what happened in that moment unconsciously, as I won't say laid on the bed because I didn't lay on the bed completely. I had my knees on the mat and I had my upper body on the bed. But what happened in that moment was God made a connection with something he had done years ago that ran in the background of my mind. That's why the revelation had came. And that was the bed and the mat was supporting me. It was holding me up. It was providing me what I need to keep my body in a certain position because I didn't have the strength to do it myself. Now, that came from a situation many, many years ago. Me and my ex-wife were separated the first time. She had moved out of the house. I was still in the house, preparing to sell it. And the Lord had told me to lay on the floor. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I get on the floor and I just lay on the floor. And I just allow my entire weight to I just relax. I just laid there. And I could just feel this relief. And I was like, God, why are you having me lay on the floor? And he said, because I want you to know what it feels like to be supported because you've never been. And I just broke. I broke down. See, most men don't know what it feels like to be supported as the provider, the protector, right? And all the different things that we are responsible for. We don't have anybody supporting us. We don't have someone who actually can support us, who's strong enough to hold the weight and the weight of the responsibilities we have on our shoulders to provide, to protect, to care for that which we are given charge to take care of. And that's the challenge that many of us men are having. Who do I go to for support? And are you strong enough to support me? Now, people will say, well, it's your wife and so forth and so on. Well, look, the reality of it is that whether true or not, you still got to deal with what men are dealing with on a regular basis when it comes to the perception and the general opinion of society. Because if you take the fears that you have to a woman who's your wife, your girlfriend or whatever, and you take the truth about how you feel in terms of being overwhelmed, the reality of it is we know that it's going to backfire. And yeah, it may not backfire with some people, But for the majority of the people, for the majority of the men, they will probably tell you, no, I know it's going to backfire because I've actually shared and it backfired. We hear a lot of, we see these videos where they popping balloons, right? A man, I saw one the other day, a man was talking to a woman and he asked a question about, going 50-50. He was trying to get clarity on something in regards to what her values were. And before he could even ask the question, the moment she heard 50-50, she just popped the balloon. She didn't even listen. She didn't even listen to the question. Like he had to be like, hold on, let me get the question out. All she heard was 50-50. And we see that throughout different videos, throughout society, throughout conversations. We see it all the time. So we have a pretty good understanding about what the expectation is. And the expectation is you got to be on all the time. You got to be performing for us all the time. You can't show no weakness. We may say we want you to show weakness as, women, but women, you can't show no weakness. And if you do, you're probably going to get maybe once, I'll let it slide. Maybe twice, I'll let it slide. But after that, what happens? They start losing respect. And then what happens? They start to entertain other people. So we know, based on history, that the reality of it is that I'm out here by myself. And I really don't have nobody. So where do I go to get the support I need in order to keep the ship afloat? Because I can't depend on none of y'all. And in many situations, we can't go to other men. Because sometimes support doesn't look like an encouraging word. Sometimes support looks like, yo, you need $5,000. Here, I got you. See, when we talk about support, we don't talk about that kind of support. Oh, men want to get together and, we need to build and do things together. But when I really am in need, you know what you tell me? You're a man. You got to figure it out. I know because I've heard it before. I've heard it from people family-wise who's like, yeah, they didn't necessarily say it to me, but they said it about the situation that we were talking about in regards to another person. So it told me clearly, I can't rely on you. As much as I want to come out and say, hey, I need help, so forth and so on, but it's very, very clear. It's clear. Nobody's going to take care of a grown man. So why would I come to you when I'm in need? And most of the time, the need that men have are financial. You're a grown man. Nobody's going to take care of a grown man. And we instinctively know that. So we never, and we just won't come to nobody, because the reality of it is that the support people want to give you is lip service. That's what they want to give you. They want to say all the niceties, but when it comes time to be able to sacrifice on your behalf or for you, they don't want to do that. I praise God for my best friends, right? My best friend Chauncey, when I would like, I pray to God that God allows me to be wealthy, because I do want to be able to, I don't owe him anything. But as an appreciation for what he has done in my life, I want to be able to do something for him because of what he's done for me. Mi casa es su casa, he said, when I was homeless and I didn't have a place to go. He let me sleep on his couch for months with his wife. So when I'm talking about support, like, that's what I'm talking about. He had done that many, many years ago. And he's probably been the only one. I can't say that, other people haven't really been there. But what I'm saying is that it was so few and far in between. I never got used to it. I could never feel like, it was just like, yo, that's once in a lifetime. So you don't necessarily, and you pray that you're never in a situation where you need it, right? That's the goal. We want to be able to be a support. We don't want to be in a place where we need support. But the reality of it is that you're going to have to get support at some point. And the person who supports us more than anybody is the Lord. He cares for us. And again, just being able to be reminded of that truth. Like, nah, son, I care. And I see what you're going through. And I recognize the challenge that it presents. But I'm rooting you on. I am rooting you on. I want you to succeed more than you do. Why? Because it's going to show you something about you that I've always known because I put it there that you don't know about you. And I just can't wait to see. I can't wait to see the moment where you see what I've seen for all eternity. That's the God that I serve. I know sometimes we lose our way and we get doubtful and so forth and so on. But God is like, all of your days were numbered before one of them came to be. I know everything about you. I know you better than you do. So he supports us in the things that we care about. Now, he doesn't support everything. But when we are doing something out of a pure heart, when we are doing something genuinely because we are trying to bring about a transformation in our lives, he's like, son, I got you. I'm with you. So I wanted to share those three things. Again, acknowledging overwhelm, release, support. It's okay to be overwhelmed, but what you do when you are overwhelmed is vital. Release, letting go, lightens the load. And support, let the Lord support you. 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. As always, don't try to change the world. Instead, build you, and your world will transform. Until next time, y'all, peace.